Our next presenter is Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Choudhary. He is presenting on the topic Exploring the Role of Thinking.
What I then put that bag into the sun closet and carry everything in hand with me.
Hello. Good afternoon. My slide is visible. Am I audible, please? Hello.
Yes, you are audible and your slides are.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Slide is not changing. Just give me a minute, right? I think the sharing. Just 1 minute, right? There is some issue, technical issue is coming in the slide. I'm just trying to say, so give me a minute of time. Well, there may be issue with the slide because of internet or something. I don't know what is happening. I just give a call to my technical person. If I'll be given a minute of time, that person will come and resolve it. Otherwise, I'll just start the presentation. Unnecessarily will take the time. Very good afternoon, Honorable Justice Bimla Ma'am, invited dignitaries for the Nyaya Shastra Symposium, and Vishwajit Shah. I am Sanjeev Kumar Choudhary from Gujarat National Law University. I'll be presenting the topic on exploring the role of corporate social responsibility in achieving sustainable peace and justice. The scheme of my presentation will be to deal with peace as a right, where this right is being recognized in Indian context as well as internationally. Then what is the status of that recognized right as far as India is concerned, where we stand, and to resolve this, what are the solution, and to reach toward that solution, what are the financial effort that is being made from the government side, and then whether we have achieved something on this or not. Right? And the next stage then will be what is the solution ahead. So I'll start with the first thing, recognition as the right of the peace. The first recognition is Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. In its preamble, it very clearly states that the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace lies in the protection of human rights. As far as Indian Constitution, which is the prime law of the country, is concerned, Constitution in its fundamental right chapter, that is chapter 3, specifically under Article 14, Article 21, and Article 19, very clearly recognize equality, protection of life and liberty, and freedom of speech and expression. When it comes to the Indian judiciary has gone a step further, and while interpreting Article 21, the Indian judiciary has said very clearly the right to life includes the right to a dignified life, the right to a clean and healthy environment, the right to privacy, etc., which contribute immensely to the realization of peaceful existence of an individual in the society. Furthermore, the DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policy, also motivates the government to bring out the policies that will help in achieving the ultimate objective of social, political, and economic equality and justice as emphasized in the preamble of the Constitution. So both, so as far as this scheme is there, we are very much recognizing this as a right. The another segment of this piece is the sustainable development goals. As we know, internationally, under the aegis of United Nations, a concerted global effort has started to protect the environment through the first Earth Summit in 1972, which has gone further in 1992. After 20 years at the Rio de Janeiro, the conference took place. Then further in 2000, right, Millennium Summit has taken place. Then in 2015, right, Sustainable Development Summit took place, and then through sustainable development, after MDG goal, which has been brought in 2000 by the Millennium Summit, in 2015 through Sustainable Development Summit, 17 goals have been identified, right, to be achieved by 2030. Within that 17 identified goals under SDG, goal 16 is very clearly connected with the topic which talks about peace, justice, and a strong institution to promote an inclusive society where justice is made available to everyone by establishing a strong institutional mechanism. It is impossible to achieve any SDG, including SDG 16, that is peace, justice, and a strong institution, without protecting human rights, implementing effective governance based on rule of law, and enabling everyone to meet the basic human requirement with dignity. So this slide, I try to understand where do we stand on these parameters. So as far as the recent mid 2025 survey published by Namibia Safety Index is concerned, India has been placed on 67th position out of 163 countries. This survey takes into consideration the wide range of crimes such as theft, vandalism, hate crime, assault, homicide, sexual offenses, and many more. Considering this, India has been given a position 67th out of 163 countries which were participating, right, being taken into consideration for this particular survey. Secondly, according to the Women Peace and Security WPS Index 2023-24, released by Georgetown Institute of Women, Peace and Security, considering women's inclusion, justice, security, education, employment, and violence, India is ranked 128th out of 177 countries. And the latest data published by National Crime Records Bureau, NCRB India, calculating crimes per 100,000 female population, shows an increase of 12.9% between 2018 and 2022. Studies suggest, so now the question is, as per this status, things doesn't seems to be very positive. Question is, what are the solution? Why this? Sorry, before coming to solution, what are the essentials which in fact leads to these type of crimes, which ultimately affecting the peace in the society? So certain studies has been done. I have given the complete link and discussed the studies in the paper in detail. The certain studies have been done which suggest a nexus between the commission of crime and the economic inequalities, poverty, and unemployment. Further, socio-economic deprivation developed due to inequalities and poverty is also found to be one of the reasons for terrorist activities as well, beside other regions such as ethnic and religious conflict. Apart from the other socio-economic factors, climate change is emerging as one of the essential factors enhancing the risk of violent conflict. Therefore, climate change issues should be seriously considered to establish societal peace. It is emerging as one of the factors for geopolitical conflict as well. So, this part of the paper, I looked into what solution can we think for, or the researcher, right, or the research is suggesting about the solution. So I come to the conclusion in the form of a solution is that if anything which may be considered as the first and foremost step to be taken for reducing crime in general and against women in particular, it is education, because it's provide the capabilities to think logically, empower one to differentiate between good and evil, enhances the chances of mitigating economic constraints, and enables individual to participate effectively in the governance structure. Empirical studies suggest a strong causal relation that exists between education and the crime reduction. Even for achieving progress on Sustainable Development Goal 16, education is the most essential requirement as it will equip people with the knowledge, skills, value necessary to build peaceful, just, and inclusive society. As far as education is concerned, therefore, it's important to look into where do we stand. If you look into the government budgetary allocation for the education, the total budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Education in India for the financial year 2025-26 is 128 128,650 crore, which is still just 4.6% of the total GDP. This allocation is much lower than the target reiterated in the National Education Policy 2020, which is 6% of the GDP to ensure quality and equitable access to education for all citizens. It is therefore clear that the government alone cannot achieve the desired goal of education, and this education is a goal that fosters the ultimate result of reaping its benefit in the areas of all sustainable development goals, including Sustainable Development Goal 16, that is the peace, justice, and right. So what can we think for? Is there any other possibility that is available? At this juncture, right, I look towards the CSR, corporate social responsibility. As such, this corporate social responsibility is not new, neither for India nor for the world at large. Rather, it started quite back. But initially, and then during those days, and even today, except India, this is considered as a philanthropic act, a voluntary contribution from the corporate. And the reason for the contribution is that the corporate ultimately is availing the facilities which are otherwise preserved for the society in the form of land, in the form of everything. So therefore, the harms that is caused to the society, or the inconvenience that is caused to the society or individual or to the environment, need to be repaid, need to be compensated. And that's the whole basis, right? And accordingly, this has come into existence in the beginning. But as far as India is concerned, in India, these things had changed by 2013 when a new company law, that is the Companies Act 2013, came into existence. And probably this is the first country where by new Companies Act 2013, the CSR has been made mandatory. It has become legal as a legal instrument. Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013, right, prescribes certain conditions, and those companies or corporates which are meeting the conditions prescribed under Section 135 will have to make a contribution, identified amount of contribution under CSR. So what does Section 135 says? It says that if a company's net worth or turnover, or for that matter net profit, is either 500 crore, 1000 crore, or 5 crore respectively during the immediately preceding financial year, then that company will fall right within the mandatory criteria of corporate social responsibility, and then the company has to spend 2% of the average net profit of the preceding 3 years in the corporate social responsibility. Now the question then comes, what are the area where this fund will be spent? For that, Schedule 7 is there in the Companies Act, which identify 14 broader area, 14, within which, right, this fund can be spent by the company. So it is left to the discretion of the company to choose the area out of these 14. Accordingly, they can make that amount spent in those particular area by formulating a policy, and that policy will be governed by the company's corporate social responsibility policy rules 2014, and accordingly that amount has to be spent. The selection of project is carried, as I said, by under the CSR by the companies to be determined voluntarily. So there is no restriction. Only condition imposed is that this should fall within the area identified under Schedule 7. And then the company will make a proposal. That proposal need to be vetted and then approved by the board. And then in-house CSR committee will take care of implementation of that policy, wherein that amount will be spent. Interestingly, right, if you look into the data made available by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, following the mandate, the eligible company which falls, the overall expenditure under CSR for the financial year 2023-2024 is approximately 35,000 crore. And within this 35,000 crore, the non-PSU, that means the private companies, the total contribution of that private companies are 80% of the total corpus that has been collected under CSR, which is quite a positive sign in terms of participation by the private corporate players in the overall development of the country's socio-economic and environmental concern. Analyzing the data which is available on the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website, the major sector within which these companies have spent the amount, major sector are education, healthcare, environmental sustainability, livelihood enhancement projects, and rural development projects. This indicates the importance of education that the corporate gives to. So how corporate perceive this sector, they realize the importance of education as they need educated and trained people to sustain their business in the global market. A significant chunk of that total CSR, of course, CSR is being collected from the companies. So those states which are rich in industry, the collection of the CSR is being made more from that state. And therefore, expenses is also high in that state. So a significant chunk of the CSR corpus is spent in the states which are rich in industries and business, such as Mumbai. Mumbai has always been at top. Then the next is Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, and Delhi. I just taken few, right? However, non-industrialized state largely depend on the philanthropic contribution of small businesses for the additional support needed to do work in these areas, and hence are found to be lacking in terms of education, health, and more importantly, employment due to a skill gap. As per the data available on MCA, the top 10 contributor under the CSR fund for the financial year 23-24 also choose education, health, environment as the significant area for making expenses under mandatory CSR regime in India. Now the question is, from this I'm coming to a certain conclusions, and then I will make certain suggestion as well. So it is undoubtedly clear now that not just peace, justice, and a strong institution, nationally and internationally, as finalized under SDG Goal 16 to be achieved by 2030, along with the other 16 goals, no significant improvement can be made with a huge young population devoid of moral, ethical, and cultural values, which they cannot have in a constitutional sense without proper education. It is also evident that a country cannot stride on the path of sustainable development if the vast population of that country are struggling to meet the basic needs of food, shelter, clothing, human amenities, fresh air, clean water, and employment. A recent study, not recent, rather up to 2021 study is there. The McKinsey Global Institute report published in 2021 claimed that 618 million people in India, nearly 56% of them total population, lack the means to meet their basic need. Oxfam International report published in 2020 said that India is going through a phase of extreme inequality in terms of wealth. And in the recent report of World Bank published in 2025, one in every four Indian, approximately 35 crores Indian, though do not fall under the extreme poverty line, are still not capable of meeting the minimum standard required for a decent life. In such circumstances, where the people are even struggling for the basic amenities, basic facilities, it is important, in my opinion, especially right that the prioritization and harmonization of the governmental budgetary allocation and CSR expenditure should be made towards education and the environment, specifically the two sector. Education, right? Whatever amount is being collected under CSR and the budget that is being allocated by the government should be clubbed together, and the amount has to be spent on education throughout the country. And as far as because the business will also hamper the environment, immediate environment, and therefore a part of that, right, appropriate amount of that has to be spent to bring the environment in good shape, that is in situ basis, right, from the corpus form to the budgetary allocation. So that is how by bringing good investment in education and in environment, the ultimately the peace can be achieved. Otherwise, a citizen who will be struggling, having no proper understanding, right, struggling to survive, struggling to get the job, it is difficult to achieve the environment nationally as well as internationally. That's all from my side. Thank you everyone for patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev.